Since the beginning of gaming, there's always been two predominant input types. For most people coming up during the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, even Xbox One, PS4, it was the controller input type. But over the last 10 years, the PC industry has definitely exploded, and a lot of people that used to play on controller switched over to mouse and keyboard. For the select few that had always played mouse and keyboard on PC gaming since the dawn of time, they began to find themselves new opportunities for professional gaming on the mouse and keyboard. Now, up to about 8 years ago, it was pretty common for a lot of these esports scenes to have a very exclusive input type, being that Call of Duty had been solidified for years and the majority of the players had played on a PlayStation controller or on an Xbox controller. Since Call of Duty was taken seriously, it was beginning on the Xbox 360 and Xbox One, but eventually switched over to PlayStation exclusive. Hence why a lot of the pros began to switch over to PlayStation controllers, and to be quite honest with you, the hardware inside of the PlayStation controller is simply better. I just prefer the feel of the Xbox controller. However, Call of Duty, while it was popular, was not the most popular esports environment out there, and even probably one of the biggest at the time. Counter-Strike was dominated by none other than the mouse and keyboard. So back in this time, there really wasn't much of an argument about these input types colliding with one another because they simply were in their own worlds. For a long time, it wasn't even about just the input types. The Call of Duty esports environment was exclusive to console. Even if you played a controller on PC, you still could not compete in their competitive environment. And that ended a few years ago where they finally switched over to PC to get more firepower in their systems. However, even till this day, Call of Duty remains exclusive on a controller. You are not allowed to show up at a LAN event and play against other pros in the CDL while using a mouse and keyboard. Now, you can still play in their online ranked leagues, but you cannot sign up for online tournaments like game battles, MLG, CMG, or show up at a LAN event in any of the CDL environments and use a mouse and keyboard. It is only exclusive to controller. When it comes to games like Counter-Strike, they're always dominated by mouse and keyboard as well, including Valorant, because it's just one of those games that requires really fast reactions with flicks, precise accuracy, no aim assist involved at all, and that's why a lot of these scenes have always just been separate. But what does this have to do with Apex Legends and the title of this video? Well, it wasn't until a few years ago where big games began to emerge on the scene like Fortnite, Warzone, Call of Duty multiplayer on PC, and Apex Legends, of course. Because like I mentioned earlier in the video, PC gaming had began to explode on the scene, and many players were not only switching over, but also still playing their old habits of using a controller, but on the PC platform. So unlike before in all of these exclusive scenes that we had grew up with, where everyone was playing on controller or everyone was playing mouse and keyboard, for the first time, we had experienced what it was like for 4 major titles to break the scene in the matter of years, where they were all merging different input types, and especially with the implementation of crossplay, different platforms as well. Now, of course, if you're still playing console to this day, it's very likely that you're only playing with other controller players who are also on console as well, unless that is, especially with Apex Legends, if you queue with a PC player, you'll be placed into PC lobbies where you may be playing against mouse and keyboard players or controller players on PC. Now, keep in mind, these merging of communities did actually exist in some other games beforehand, but they weren't nearly as popular until Warzone, Apex Legends, and Fortnite began to really mix them all together. Because these esport titles were so popular and by far some of the biggest game launches in history, they have completely reshaped the way that we view input types, and especially the debate of mouse and keyboard versus controller, or more likely and more heard, aim assist. When Apex Legends first released, it was very widely known that mouse and keyboard players were by far the better players. They simply had snappier aim, the movement was way better, and the skill ceiling has always been so much higher for mouse and keyboard, considering there is no limitations to their input type. However, in the more recent years, controller players have really started to catch up. It's gotten so bad that a lot of pro teams have felt the need to actually switch from mouse and keyboard to go over to controller, for the simple fact of getting aim assist, especially for the late round game fights where everything is up close and personal and one clipping someone with the R99 is second nature. However, just yesterday, June 3rd, 2023, a Twitch streamer by the name of G-Dolphin had actually put together a 1v1 tournament featuring the best 32 controller players and the best 32 mouse and keyboard players that were all available at the time, so that we could settle this debate once and for all. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I think the controller players are going to love to see this. So coming from the mouse and keyboard bracket, we had big popular players like Surdell, It's Timmy, Kimchi Lee, Hollow, Taskmaster, Bullet, Denial from Team Sentinels. Quite frankly, it's worth mentioning, and you'll see why in just a minute, that we had a lot of players in this mouse and keyboard bracket that you probably have not heard of. Now, on the controller side of things, you have a lot more people that you probably recognize. Players like Effect, players like Protectful, Imperial How, Luxford, Designful, NRG Guild, Koiful, Stay Naughty, Nano, Tempest, Verhulst, and even the 10-year-old Apex Predator, Lofredson. Now, starting this bracket off in the mouse and keyboard section, we actually noticed a lot of upsets coming from round 1 that players were not expecting. More controller players specifically basically are saying that this is because mouse and keyboard at the end of the day is still the better input type, and players are also good against each other despite if they're popular or not. While on the flip side, in the controller bracket, we saw a lot more of a predictable bracket with the bigger names making it further in the round. For instance, the mouse and keyboard bracket saw an upset for It's Timmy right off the bat, Yuki from Team Alliance, Nocturnal from Xset, and Max Strafe as well in round 1. And when it came to the mouse and keyboard finals, you had Taskmaster and this guy named Ace, which I personally had never heard of. Not saying Taskmaster isn't known, but you could look at this bracket and probably say to yourself, if you're not an avid viewer of Apex Legends, and say, who even are these people? Some of them may be known, but they're definitely not the most known. When it came to the controller side of the bracket, you saw, like I said, a much more predictable bracket. Making it to round 2, Guild from NRG, Verholz from TSM, Imperial Howl from TSM. All the big names were having a very fair time of going through the bracket with no problem. Saw Imperial Howl drop out of round 3 by 1 point, Luxford move on from round 3, NRG Guild move on, and Verholz move on as well. So in the top 4, you pretty much knew all of these players that were in this. Woodersons in the end was able to take it from NRG and took the mouse and keyboard player head to head. The mouse and keyboard player Ace was actually from the APAC region, which we all know has very well success in the esports scene for Apex Legends. So anyone could argue, of course, he was going to be an underdog or at least underrated coming into this. But considering Ace was from the APAC region and also not quite as popular as Guild, people still figured that Guild, being one of the best controller players in the world and even one of the best players in the world for Apex Legends entirely, surely he should have no problem abusing the aim assist and winning in a 1v1 tournament against this guy from the APAC region that not many people had heard of, was only streaming to a couple of hundred of viewers rather than thousands like Guild does. And well, if you didn't figure it out by now, it most certainly did not go that way. The mouse and keyboard player Ace was able to take it in 10-7, and after this, it was all on Twitter about how it was proven on June 3rd, 2023 that mouse and keyboard was actually, in fact, still the strongest input, and aim assist was not overpowered, and that maybe after all, everything is just as balanced as we had hoped for. Some people were so confused, even JMeyels trolling on Twitter saying like, surely he's cheating, right? Otter also saying a mouse and keyboard player just won a 1v1 tournament against controller players. This means we need to buff aim assist because it's clearly not strong enough. Tournament host had also said to buff aim assist because obviously it wasn't strong enough to beat a mouse and keyboard player. And I think Noko hit the nail on the head that whether or not you think this means anything, it definitely fueled the Reddit users for quite a many of months regarding the mouse and keyboard versus aim assist debate. I know many people will brush over this and say, oh, well, it wasn't that serious of a tournament. It's not really that much to look into. We still need to nerf this. We still need to buff this. And honestly, I understand both of the points from both sides. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on this down in the comment section below. Let me know if you feel like this actually proves anything, or if aim assist still needs to be nerfed in any degree. Do you feel like it's balanced? Do you feel like it's unbalanced? And if it's one or the other, let me know when you feel like things really got out of hand. This has also been my trial run for my more in-depth, deeper dive videos rather than just reading a bunch of tweets and just talking about drama. So if you enjoyed a little bit more of the storytelling vibe and also a deeper dive and even a little bit more editing, let me know down in the comment section below. Maybe these are some things that you can binge watch while you eat your food. The first official video with this kind of vibe of a documentary style deep dive news video is going to be coming out this month, so make sure to stay tuned. And of course, in the meantime, we'll still be doing our normal videos as well. This is more of like a trial run, so let me know what you guys think. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Later, Gators.